Good evening. Welcome to the last of our concert series for this year. Again, Two Men and a Bench with Mark Thews and Chad Pittman. This is always one of the fun concerts for me, usually because Chad and Mark usually find some funny socks to wear, and you get to see them when they're playing their number with all the feet pedals going. So I'm sure they'll show it. They got sparkly bow ties on, and they're just really been practicing up a storm this week, and it's been a pleasure to get to hear them practice. Just a couple of announcements. First of all, if you have a cell phone or smart watch or any other smart devices, please either turn them off or put them on silent for our concert this evening. Also, if you need to use the restroom, the easiest one to access is out the east entrance, out the side entrance to our sanctuary here, and just immediately turn right. And there's a single bathroom there. During the intermission, there are also bathrooms downstairs, which you can access by going down the back stairs in the narthex and walking up the tunnel into the bathrooms for those. What else can I tell you? Again, love for you all to come to church on Sunday. Our worship services are at 10 a.m. Here in the sanctuary, and you get to hear Chad play every Sunday here. So it's a wonderful time to be there. And my wife is holding up her hand. Oh, yes, there is one more concert. This isn't the last one. It's the last of our concert series, but also next Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the Saturday. Why did I say Sunday? Saturday, the 20th. Is the Canton Symphony Chorus. You would think I know since I'm in it. Maybe I'll be a day late for the concert. But it is Saturday at 4 p.m., again, here in the sanctuary. I promise you it will be cooler because they're switching over our air conditioning system on Monday, which is really good for us this evening, I know. But again, it will be cooler for that concert on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And again, it's a wonderful concert. Again, wonderful numbers by our symphony chorus over in Canton. So I hope that you'll come and be a part of that. As always, we've put on all these concerts free of charge, although we do take a free will offering, which goes to help keep these concerts free of charge for everyone. And also, if you would get home and you say to a neighbor and stuff, hey, you really should have seen this concert, you can log on to our church's Facebook page, which is stpaulsmassillon.org, or you can look on YouTube, and it will be on our YouTube channel for St. Paul's Massillon as well. So with that in mind, Chad and Mark asked me to make one announcement for them, which is during the first two numbers, they're going to go directly from one number into the next. So please hold your applause until after the second number this evening. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite to the organ now Mark Thews and Chad Pittman, Two Men and a Bench.
Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you. Last time I saw you, it was a little cooler than it is now, but of course, we never know. I guess we have to be careful with what I say. So anyway, I'm so glad you're here. We are so glad you're here. This is, the 10th year that we have been doing organ duets together, and of course, this is our home base. We absolutely love performing for our supportive audience. So to those of you who are back, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Church family, local musicians, friends who come to the series, and for those of you who are new here to St. Paul's, welcome. We're very happy that you're here. So the first piece, Fanfare for a Common Man, by Aaron Copland, just the father of American music, American classical music. My grandmother was telling me a story when I was talking to her about this program that she remembers the day that Kennedy was assassinated. As a student at the Eastman School of Music, they were called into the hall for a memorial service, and that was the piece that the wind ensemble opened their program with. And she said she has never forgotten it. But if you listen to those beautiful chords, they're very simple, but the way that they're placed, it's just so incredibly powerful. And then, of course, we went right into a piece by George Friedrich Handel. Handel was actually German, but he spent almost all of his working life in England because he knew he could make money, and that was his goal, to make as much money as possible. And so his music is very gaudy, very fast, very exciting. It's why he's one of my favorite composers. This evening will also feature a couple of solos, which I'm excited to introduce now. Mark is going to play a few of his arrangements on Praise to the Lord. And again, one of our goals is to use as much of the organ as possible and to feature as many of the colors as we can. Would you like to say something about your piece? All right.
I'm not praying Praise to the Lord. That's another publication. This was on Old Hundredth, the doxology. I wrote this piece in the early 90s for my friend Fred Barr, who was then the organist at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in downtown Canton, and they just had their organ refurbished, and it was an E.M. Skinner. It has lots of color stops, and so I wrote about 7 or 8 variations on the doxology for him to play on the opening concert, which he did, and then I submitted for publication and it did get published. So I hardly ever play any of my pieces, but again, I wanted to show again some of the colors on this organ, both on the front and there's a back organ in case you didn't see there's pipes back there too, which we'll use. I'm not going to play all the variations because I don't want to take up all that time, but maybe 4 or 5 of them just to let you hear what the different sounds we can get on the organ that shows most of the color that we can get off the organ. And of course, the last one is the big full organ one. So those of you that like the organ loud, well, it's coming.
And Old Hundredth, the doxology, not Praise to the Lord. That'll be next concert. When I read articles about why to keep the organ involved in church music, if at all possible, there's a lot of wonderful reasons. And I couldn't help but just stop and think about that as he was playing his wonderful variations. But I think the best description I ever heard was from a dear friend who has now passed named Tom White. I know many of you know Tom out in the audience. Tom and I were just talking one day, and as he often did, he stopped and he said, "You know, Chad," and he said, I think that we have to keep fighting for the organ because it's the closest that we can get to the very voice of God surrounding us and being right on our shoulder. I kind of like that. So I often find that as I'm practicing in here or giving a concert or attending an event, that it's just amazing. I'm humbled by what the organ can do. Such a versatile instrument, played by one or two people, and the very voice of God, in addition to being able to play all kinds of other repertoire, orchestral, hymn-based. So wherever you are, if you're involved in a church congregation or know of a good concert hall, fight for the instrument. I'm going to let Mark talk about the next piece because he arranged this along with many others, and I know he'll have several things he wants to share with you.
This is one of my all-time favorite orchestral pieces, and I always listen to WKSU, and every April, springtime comes, they play this about 6 or 7 times, and so I look forward to hearing this whenever they perform it. And I think I did a paper, it's been so long ago, when I was an undergraduate on Aaron Copland. We had to pick a 20th century composer, and I think I picked him, but I don't know, I think I might have used Hoedown as Rodeo rather than the Appalachian Spring. I don't know why, because this is my favorite one. But anyways, I've always had a sweet spot for Aaron Copland and his harmonies and the rhythms that he used. But this one in particular, because it uses the tune that we know, the Simple Gifts, obviously. But then at the beginning and at the end, he used these open chords. And the orchestra, you get, of course, all of the instruments, so you can play around with colors and so on. But on the organ, we kind of can do the same thing. So especially at the very end, this organ has, let's see, about 4 different sets of strings and celeste on it. So we're going to push all those together to get that nice, like the muted string sounds of the orchestra, especially on the end for those beautiful chords. And the same thing at the beginning. We're just playing with one flute. I'm playing on the bottom manual. I think he's playing on the top manual with the flute. And again, it's these open 4ths and 5ths chords, nice harmonies. And so I enjoyed putting this together for the organ. I hope you do enjoy listening to it.
Before we put it together, I watch him in this process as he sits on the couch and he writes out these pitches and does the playback system and then adjusts it quietly. It's a wonderful process to watch him arrange these pieces of music. And the full score is over here. And then we put it together and we try some things and change some things. And so it's great that Mark is so skilled at this, and I feel fortunate to be a beneficiary of all the great arranging. So at this time, we are going to take our intermission with a big second half planned. I'm going to ask the ushers to come forward and ask everybody to stay seated until they pass your row. Intermission will be about 10 minutes. Wanted to reiterate that the restrooms are downstairs in this building. There's also one that you passed as you entered, especially if you entered on the side here. And then as you travel over to the other building, the other office building, you can find some restrooms on all levels. The easiest accessible one in that building over there is downstairs all the way on the basement floor just off the fellowship hall. The offering for this series is critical to keeping it going. We have been fortunate to welcome some amazing artists, including Danielle Roth earlier this calendar year, Isabel Demers, and of course, we have the Canton Symphony coming next week. We had Harmony Ringers of A Chorus for a Cause. And next year, we're in the planning stages, and we have some very exciting things happening, including some international artists. I really want to tell you who it is, but until the paper's signed, I'm not supposed to. And we have one of the two glee clubs, men's glee clubs, that has been here in the past. I'm not going to tell you which one, because there'll be some whispering. But anyway, all of this takes great support, and the free will offering is a critical piece of that. So thank you so much in advance for your generosity. If anybody in the audience would like to explore an idea for this series here at St. Paul's, please let me know. And additionally, if you're interested in a sponsorship, of course, I'd be interested to talk to you about that. We do concerts in honor or memory of a loved one or an organization, so feel free to talk with me about that. After the second half, which is a little bigger than the first half, actually, we're going to have a reception over in the Gleitzman Lounge in the next building over. Cookies, punch, and whatever other surprises that they have going on. Would love to see you over there and continue some discussion. And at this point, we will enjoy our intermission about 10 minutes, then we'll get started again. Thank you.
Well,
I know that music and art lovers in here know that one of the best things about music and art from all around the world is the individual flavor that they bring, that each culture brings. French organ music for us is no exception. Mark and I love to play organ music from France, which is mostly defined by intense, kind of brittle reed sound, lush foundations that you would sing with or pray to. There's an instrument, just like this is a chants, and chants is a very common build of organ here in the United States. A brand called Cavailles-Coll is very prominent in France. And Cavailles-Coll really, when the company started going, defined the organ sound. And what I love about this instrument is we're able to really imitate, not authentically, but to the best of our ability, that crunchy, intense sound, and also some of these lush, beautiful flutes that define the flavor of the French organ. So we are going to begin with what is originally a solo piece, Suite Gothique, by Léon Boulman. And there are two movements to that. The first one is really big, so hold on to your pew. The second one, again, a little bit more meditative, soft. And then I'm going to go along with a solo named Trumpet Tune Royale by George Baker. George Baker is an international artist, an organist, and actually just recently retired. And as I was exploring options for the series, I was looking him up, looking information about what he would be like if we brought him to Massillon. And as I was researching, I found that he writes incredible music, such beautiful music. And I found his Tuba Tune Royale, which is basically his royal processional trumpet tune, was just one of my favorites. So I'm going to play that for you. And again, it's very much in this French style. That solo work is actually dedicated to, it says, to my dear friend Fred Swan, an organist, really active father figure of the organ here in the United States. Mark and I actually had a chance to go out to his memorial service in California. And so when I saw that dedication after it happened to be my favorite piece of music that I planned to perform, it was all that more meaningful. So some French-inspired music first, Suite, and then the Tuba Tune Royale. So, when we performed a concert at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., by the way, the fact about that is that it's called the National Cathedral, but the Episcopal Church kind of resents that just a little bit because they're like, well, the national part doesn't really give us that much support. We have to maintain this. So, it is completely controlled by, or upkept by the Episcopal Church, and the national part is it's a symbol, and the government pays to use it, but it is a parish. It is a church very much like this one, very much like yours, and it has to keep itself going at the rate of around $10,000 an hour. So we had the opportunity to perform there. I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity to attend services or visit it. It's a stunningly beautiful place with amazing history. And we noticed that the organist and the assistant organist, every time that they played together, duet concerts or items in worship, that they wore fancy socks. So we said, we have to jump on that train. And I'm sure that you've seen the fancy socks, but we will model them for you at the moment. Yeah, okay, that's right. Mine is some kind of sucker or mushroom or something like that, and Mark's is something entirely different. Anyway, on that theme, on that idea, the next two are for pedal duet only. And the first one, it features some really beautiful counterpoints, some stunning lines going back and forth against each other in four voices. And then the second one is something a little bit more fun and lighthearted. But these are two for the pedal, the canzone and Pink Panther theme. You ever get the feeling that something's creeping behind you? You know, one of these times, if anybody is interested in volunteering, when next time we do that, I want to have somebody dressed up come in and just make it sneak around and steal stuff and just make it really authentic. So the next piece, I'm going to let Mark talk a little bit about how we go about registering all of these pieces. But then I'll tell you a little bit about the next piece by Charles Callahan, Fiesta. A little bit of a different flavor, a Latin-ish kind of flavor with a couple of surprises rather. This is one of the first pieces that we ever played together when we started this organ duet idea. And we love to tell the story that we were both serving in Canton, I at the Downtown Methodist Church and Mark nearby at Westbrook Park Church, where he served for over 40 years. And we were interested in exploring a joint service together. Well, Mark reached out to me, we didn't know each other that well yet, and said, would you like to do some organ duets? I said, huh? And so we got together and we practiced, and my fellow musicians in the audience, collaborators, you know that when you meet with a collaboration partner or a duet partner or an accompanist where it just clicks, it just clicks. And it turned into a wonderful friendship. We are now best friends, and we do this all of the time. And so it was a great thing, and it's a great way that music unites us together. Charles Callahan, for our organist friends in the audience, if your church allows it and deems it appropriate, he writes some beautiful hymn arrangements featuring all the different colors of the organ, and also some classically based or sounding things like the trumpet tune and other things you've heard today. So if Charles Callahan is not part of your repertoire, I really encourage you to order some of his books because it's fantastic. Mark's going to tell you a little bit about the sounds that you're going to hear, and also how we go about registering and what it looks like when we arrive at a location that's not home.
So we keep using the word registration. This is your organ lesson right here. Or registration is selecting the stops. Now you can see every one of these knobs is a different sound. So you got all of this and all of that. And then the couplers across the front tell you which keyboard you can put them on. You can put them all of them, put them down here. So you got to be thinking about how you want to orchestrate every single piece that you play, even a hymn, a prelude, a postlude, anything. That's part of playing the organ. So in a piece like an organ duet, I don't know if you can all see this, but you see like there's little yellow marks and pink marks and so on. That decides who's going to push which button when, and who's going to go to which manual, because there's 4 here so you don't crash into each other. That all has to be orchestrated on the music. We use colors, pink, and we got yellow. There should probably be a green in here somewhere. Green is usually the buttons that we push. And then organ duet music is just written on 6 stabs on a page. So you have left hand, right hand pedal for him. Then at the bottom, I have left hand, right hand pedal for me. So you're looking at 6 stabs, almost like an orchestral score as you're going across. So that's why there's not much music on. There's like 4 measures on one page because there's so much stuff going on. This particular piece, Charles Callahan must have been on drugs or something, I don't know. He's having you change manuals like every 4 or 5 measures, switching pistons for just like 3 notes sometimes, and you have to go back down to the manual that you came on. And so you have to orchestrate not to run into the other person, go out, play in, all this kind of craziness just to do, well, this particular piece, but almost all of them anyways, because you got 2 people trying to fight for the whole organ, and we kind of divide it down the middle. You stay over there and I stay over there, and I take care of this side, you take care of that side, and it kind of works. So this Fiesta obviously is a Spanish kind of a tango type piece. You're going to hear all kinds of little, I want to call it like little snarky remarks from him. You be playing da-da-da-da-da, and you hear da-da-da-da-da-da. You'll hear these little notes coming from everywhere, real deep low tones that don't really fit in with what else you're doing. It's kind of a surprise element, I guess, but it's a lot of fun to play, but it's a lot of work to get this all to come out right. So hope you enjoy Fiesta.
Choreography is the biggest part of this process. One of us plays nice, and the other one doesn't. I'll let you guess. We're going to go back into the program because we inadvertently left out Lucia from the beginning. This is an excerpt of music from the opera Lucia di Lammermoor by Donizetti. I have to share that this one is, Mark completely chose this one, found this one. This is actually a piano duet arrangement of it that we're making work for the organ. And I have a kind of a fun story with this. I was actually in the opera Lucia when I was in middle school. I have a close family friends who own the Cleveland Opera. Used to be Opera Circle, and then when Opera Cleveland folded, they kind of took that name over. But back when it was Opera Circle, they put on this amazing production of Lucia. And my friend Dorota, who played Lucia herself, I was so amazed by all of the memorization and all of the work that she did for that role. It's a very, very intense plot, and I really, really enjoyed my time in the opera. So one thing we've worked on is to really make this very dramatic and very impactful because it's accompanying drama as part of the opera. And then we're going to finish up with a good old John Philip Sousa march, using all of the appropriate stops on the organ, especially the trumpets. And we hope to see you afterwards in the lounge for some cookies and punch and all of the other things. I would like to make sure that you know about our final concert next week. The Canton Symphony Chorus is offering a first for them, an outreach concert entitled My Soul Cries. I happen to be fortunate to be the director of that group, and I love to theme concerts like this. So every concert, or rather every piece, either references the soul or is about the soul. And it's various genres, and they're a special group, and we've been working hard on this repertoire. And in fact, there are many members in the congregation this evening. So if you're in the Canton Symphony Chorus, give a quick wave. Yay! So you'll be back. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about that. We'd love to welcome you here. And I'd also like to thank all of the members of St. Paul's Lutheran Church for helping with this series. I'd like to thank the ushers, Greg and Linda Klein, and the other usher team. Anybody else who ushered this evening? Patty Long, Carl Kalk, Catherine Sheets. I'd like to thank our worship and music committee, Pastor Mark Creamer for all of his support, and everybody in the back who is making this possible. Thank you very much. So we're going to finish up with two more pieces, and we thank you for coming, and would love to see you next door. Anything you want to add? Okay.
So I did a little research on this Lucia di Lammermoor. Lucia was actually the main character, excuse me, well, like I'm talking and eating, was the main character in the opera, and she actually stabbed and killed her husband on their wedding day. So I don't know the whole story, but Lammermoor is a city, Lucia of Lammermoor was a town in Scotland. That's where she was from, I guess. So if you're interested, Google it and you'll see what happens.
And the plot of the opera is she gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And so this music, you can kind of hear that drama underneath as she loses her mind and eventually kills her husband.